Hi guys. I'm gonna try to make this quick. I think I said that last time and I went on for 20 minutes. And then when the thing was over, I was like, oh my gosh. Is that quick? There's so much territory to cover. I can't squish it all up in under 5 minutes. I have these notes today. Do they look like 5 minutes worth of stuff? I'll try to hurry up. I wasn't going to talk about this whole Dave Chappelle thing again because, it just keeps going on and on and on and on. So I'm going to try to rush. I am going to try to rush. Not that I should, but I will. Because I know everybody has a short attention span these days anyway. I want to touch back on it. I was thinking about it because it seems to be the snowball that refuses to melt, doesn't it? With good reason. With good reason. When there are things that need to be solved, they just grow until, something happens. Here's my thing. I saw the protesting on little clips. And I said, okay, people have the right to protest. They're speaking while they protest, though. Did you notice that? They speak. They speak in the way they don't want Chappelle to speak. It's very interesting. I finished the book, The Trial, 2 days ago by Kafka. And while I was reading it and all this stuff was going on, I said, oh my gosh. Is that not what's going on right now? Is that not what's going on? And then, it just kept bothering me. Not the protesting. But the way things are being handled. I saw in the protesting, some people grabbed this guy's sign that was for Chappelle. I think his sign might have said something, "We like to laugh." And they took his sign and ripped it up to bits and pieces and then screamed all hysterically. Like, oh, he's got a weapon. And I'm thinking, why? Why on earth would you do something like that? You really don't want people to have the freedom of speech. It's one thing to say, okay, we want to protest what Dave Chappelle said. And we want to use our words to do that in this protest. But then to go and try to prevent somebody else from protesting? What are you doing? Doesn't make any sense. You know what else doesn't make any sense? And then it was I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people that they're out of their minds. They're just out of their minds. So I have to say this. I have to be the one that says this. Because I don't see anybody else that's said it. And before I say this, I want everybody to know. I went back and I looked. I read the Harper's Bazaar September 9th, 2020 piece on, I think it's called The Anatomy of Transmisogynoir. That was by, I believe, Ashley Preston. And I did go back and I read an article in Town and Country. I'll get back to that, why that's interesting to me. It's an October 22nd, 2020 article. And then I read another article. Because, when I see people arguing, I try to see, to read, to look at what are the misunderstandings that people are having. And with this one, it still comes back to, does Dave Chappelle have the freedom of speech to say what he wants, to make a point, even if it hurts your feelings? And you cannot connect how his speech has caused the detrimental harm and the impact that you are saying that it does. if you can't prove that, if you can't really make a case, then what are you doing? And people this week I've noticed say, well, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand what they're doing. They're making mountains from molehills. And I say, you know what? When people deliberately make molehills into mountains, there is always a reason. It's just that we don't understand the reason. When we don't understand the reason, I tend to think, and we understand English, I tend to think, okay, there's something else going on here. The subtext that's beyond our grasp, even the most intelligent of us. And I know there is, because you know what? Before this Chappelle stuff was going on, I was bothered by something I saw on Netflix. And it wasn't the cuties thing, but it wasn't because I'm not bothered by that. It's because I was underneath a rock when that thing came out. Now that I've seen the little trailer for it, that is something to be bothered by. Protesters aren't bothered by that. But bothered me that I feel that was more closely related to what was going on is when I turned my TV on, my Netflix on, a couple of months ago. I think it was about a month ago. And you know who can answer this to me? You know who can answer this? What was his name? Ted Sarandos. He can answer this. And the protesters, in particular any black protesters. Why is it necessary to get rid of Dave Chappelle's shows? Because you don't agree with what he's saying and his feeling, and they cause detriment and harm to your community. But nothing is being said that Seinfeld show is on Netflix. Why is Seinfeld on Netflix? Now, mind you, I want you to keep this in mind, because Dave Chappelle, and in this article, The Anatomy of Trans Misogynoir, both of them, in their own ways, touched on this intersectionality and this overlapping, this idea that we all have these attributes and these things about us that overlap in different communities. And I agree with that. So then my question is, why is Seinfeld on Netflix? We all know, or we should know. Let me make sure I get the dates right. In 2006, Michael Richards, he was the one that played the character Kramer in the show, which I watched when I was younger, and I thought it was funny. But we all know the story. In 2006, he was being heckled at a comedy club, and he called two black guys there the N-word. And then when they wouldn't be quiet, he told them that in a previous day, I'm paraphrasing, they would have been hung upside down with a fork, I think, stuck up, use your imagination. And that is hate speech, is it not? Is it not hate speech, what he did? And so some people might come to his aid right now and say, okay, well, that was a long time ago. That was 15 years ago. Okay. But that has nothing to do with what he's benefiting from now, which means he's on Netflix. Obviously, he's getting paid some sort of royalty, right? Though he victimized two black men. Now, if we can keep that up there, because though that freedom of speech he used to spew hate was done not on a set, but it was done in the streets, let's say. He's still financially being backed up by Netflix. Is he not? Weren't the victims in that case black men? Where is the overlap? Where is the overlapping? Where is the help at? Where is the acknowledgement that when we turn on Netflix, me, a subscriber, since I think 2001, for many shows, okay, for Schitt's Creek, for Absolutely Fabulous, for My Son Likes Stranger Things, for the Dave Chappelle Show, for Turkish shows, for, many things do I watch, okay? But why do I have to see that? Why do I have to see this Seinfeld show up there that I used to like and know that they are subsidizing this man who was a racist in his later days of life, right? But they don't feel the need to bring that up. Isn't this what Dave Chappelle was talking about? About people talking about overlapping? In theory. But when it's time to actually address cases where there's some kind of disparity going on, it's not being brought up. So I said, why? Why is this not being brought up? And then I started reading another article. It was a Town and Country magazine, October 22nd, 2020. And I don't remember what the name of the article was. But it featured Ted Sarandos. I don't know anything about him. But what was interesting was that he's married to, I believe, Nicole Avant. And Nicole Avant is the daughter of Clarence Avant. And guess what? I watched that special when it came out. Clarence Avant's special. June 7th, 2019 was when it was released. It piqued my curiosity because they said in the documentary that he was a manager and a founder and the guy behind a lot of the music industry's big success stories. And I was curious about that. Especially when he was talking about Bill Withers. I love Bill Withers. That's a different story. How I think his death was addressed. Because he gave so much through his music. And it was like he gave so much. And I didn't see many people talking about his death when he passed. At least not as much as they've probably earned while he was alive. But anyway. What's interesting is that Ted Sarandos is married to Nicole Avant. And the father, Clarence Avant, was in this documentary that's on Netflix. And why that's interesting to me is because in this magazine and in articles online, they clearly are, the toast of town. They are rubbing elbows and funding the politics that they believe in, with Nancy Pelosi and, the Obamas, Kamala Harris, everybody. And we have to question that. We have to question that. That are in that type of circle can really be as open as they say they are. Or are they just through these agendas, through backing these protests, which we're not supposed to know that they are? Are they just acting quietly like the Kingmaker? You know what I mean. Is that what's going on here? It, you know, like a chess, I'll put it this way, like a game of chess. The king must be protected. And everyone has a role. And a lot of people believe that the queen is the most important role sometimes, because she can move all around the board. She protects the king very, very tightly, and then the pawns are all in the front. And some people believe that they have those higher roles when really they're just a pawn, and they don't know it. They're the pawn that pushes the agenda, that makes the king. That's all that's going on. Those are the people that are picking the things that you can watch and the things that you can see. And now they're trying to tell you what you can't say. I guess that's what bothers me the most. That people always talk about freedom of speech. But now we're finding out that there are other freedoms too that are also important. Freedom of seeing what you want to see, freedom of hearing what you want to hear. And there is a group of people out there that can have hurt feelings. We all have hurt feelings. God knows I have a whole bunch of them. You can have hurt feelings. You can talk about your cause. But why are you trying to bowl down 3 freedoms from people? Why are you doing that? You can't say what you want to say. You can't watch what you want to watch. You can't hear what you want to hear. It's all being whatever it is organized. That you do hear, see, and speak. It's all being organized by politicians, in a sense, right? If I subscribe to Netflix and the CEO is married to a black woman that doesn't even say anything about this Seinfeld show, and then she has a black father that's been in the industry for years, who people respect for making deals, holding secrets, and they're all funding a certain party that's also now interested in keeping people quiet. That's a problem. I would say that in these circumstances, instead of intersectionality being embraced, it's becoming a tool. It's not a tool that all of us can use.